Hello, it's my Sunday afternoon. I mean, I know it's not Sunday. It's the 13th of April. And I think it's 20 past 2 or 3, something like that. But it's my Sunday afternoon. And of course, I am trying to take in as much of Leteica STAUCH's trial, as much of the Laurie Cox Velo Daybell trial as I can, and it is a lot to process, isn't it? There's a lot that goes through your mind. We are re-traumatizing ourselves nearly when we are reliving things that we had already gone through in real time back when everything was unfolding and coming through the media and coming down the social media channels. Oh, don't look at my nails. I had some gel nails done a little while ago because I just got so sick of looking really trashy, and they've all come off. They never stay long on my stubby little hands, and it looks terrible. A couple of people are here. I don't know who it is, so I'm not sure if they want to say hello, but that's okay. I'm really actually staying on a very short amount of time now. I was just going to give a little bit of feedback only on the Leteica STAUCH trial. And I'll probably just wait a while to give commentary on Laurie Cox's trial. It's really hard to keep emotions down and to keep... we're basically... what have we learned yet that we didn't already know with regards to both Leteica's and Laurie's situation? Well, not really a lot, but it is quite interesting. But it's also, the level of... Okay, here we go. Hey, Jules Wolf of Another Day in the Car. What are you feeling as we watch, particularly Leteica STAUCH, Jules? I can tell you what... Well, I'm going to tell, but I'm going to say what I'm thinking, and that is that Leteica is very in control of her narrative. I mean, she's flighty, she races, she, because of the yada yada yada, she's just desperate to... I think this is a personality thing. I don't think she has a level of maturity that lets her communicate in a particularly in a way that's anything other than asinine, puerile, childish, redonkulous, frivolous, pathetic, selfish, self-serving, decrepit, ludicrous. Probably missed a few things. And she's clearly understanding everything that's going on. She's clearly talking people through a narrative that isn't showing any gaps in consciousness or memory. Okay, sure, she's clearly lying and prevaricating, or whatever it is. She's clearly lying about many things. It's so obvious when she lies. She's just... the thing with Leteica is she's just not a very nice person. She's just not a very good person. She clearly knows everything that's gone on. She's clearly trying to just push a narrative, and she's trying to preempt what's going to be discovered in the days to come. So, mentioning various things because she's trying to explain away things in advance. Nothing that she says possibly could be a display of a dissociative state of DID. Will Dr. Lewis actually say, well, it was really just way after this, when she was disposing of Gannon, that, she had these experiences? Nothing makes any DID sense. The not guilty by reason of insanity is just not making sense. It's so clear. It's so clear that law enforcement officers of every rank and file were onto Leteica from the start, suspected her of foul play from the start, were sick of her lies. She was acting like a suspect from the get-go and not like a concerned parent. She was difficult, obtuse, talked in circles, talked overly about herself. Now, actually, I'm glad you're here, darling Jules, because I've always found this interesting, and I've been finding it particularly piquing my interest this time around in watching the trial. The way that Leteica describes her so-called alleged rapist. So, she needed a bit of carpet to match the carpet in the home that is, a home built by a company that just makes houses, fills them into suburbs. She thought, where do I get this carpet? I will go to the suburb where the same company is building these houses, and I'll just go, hey, nonny, Mr. Fellow, in your army boots, your camo gear, and looking all rough with your black hair, 5'8", only slightly taller than me, slightly rounder face than me, this so-called Aguado carpet layer that she just found in a suburb of house builders. The description that, will Dorothy Lewis be saying, she's so, she's just trying to describe her alter ego, or this identity that stepped in for her. It's a male version of herself, because it is interesting, the black hair, the skin tone, slightly taller than her, well, you'd expect that for a man, and it's so bizarre. But okay, so with your knowledge, Jules, I really think, God, I'd love it if you could be a witness and go in and say, well, actually, no, this isn't an alter, or whatever would be the correct terminology. I know you could tell me, of Leteica STAUCH. It's actually a real life person. She was inspired by someone in real life. She's tried to perhaps frame him. She's gone out to Palmer Lakes. She's seen Aguado on the sign. So which is it? Or is this just because when she split, this is where her inspiration came from? This bitch is imaginative, but she's not actually very bright. She's not very bright. She's used to, I think, being so overbearing as to get her way. It's the same way that I think, and I didn't want to start mixing things up and talk about Laurie Cox, but it's in the same way that I think that Laurie Cox, when you're family and you've maybe embedded with a lot of narcissists, but when you're dealing with someone like Laurie in your life, I think it also matches her deceased husband. Very interesting, thank you. I think it's easier for them just to placate, believe, support, enable, because if they don't, that holy terror, that holy hell, all that agony, all that cruelty, all that difficulty is going to come onto them, and they'd rather just keep it on the people that she's got her laser beam focus on. That's just a theory of mine about Laurie and people like her, and why families enable, support, ignore, all sorts of behaviours. So Jules has got, I just want to read Jules's comments for people that might watch this later. I don't have any idea what time it is anywhere else in the world. I never check. I agree with you, Humanimal. Personality disorder, but not DID and not insane. I feel that Leteica was subconsciously confessing. Embedded confessions. Also, the description matches her deceased husband. So that's really interesting. I think there is a lot of embedded confession. I think it's so super, and there seem to be some catalysts. So definitely the story that she tells, where she's quite, it just seems quite cruel to talk of Gannon at Garden of the Gods, her and Harley Hardin are trying to burn calories. Little kids like Lena and Gannon do not need to burn calories, right? But instead of doing an outing that's suitable for the entire family, and then maybe going to the gym with Harley and doing something suitable to burning calories, let's just make the little kids, the ones that she's not really responsible for, that she doesn't make parenting decisions for, and Elle doesn't make parenting decisions about Harley, and there's no agreement. They're not allowed to. She's not allowed to. She takes him out there for whatever reason. She's telling us that he has had a toileting accident, and this could very well be true, because Gannon suffered because of his premature baby status, and various probably, just physical, his physiology and everything from birth. And, we know he overcame so much right from being born, but, he's probably been a little bit unwell. We're learning that he was on ADHD medication, which just makes me sad somehow, that she didn't seem to be able to be responsible enough to ensure he has regularly. But we're told that he's had a toileting accident. Now, for someone like Leteica, this would have pissed her off royally, right? But she tells that she wants to make sure that's in her narrative, that's part of her story. And this whole event that seemed to further kick things off, the burning of that carpet, it's so bizarre. The way she kind of saw his arms, they were a little bit burned. She wasn't really concerned. Was he under a blanket that caught fire or not? She took them out of the house, but why and with whom? And then returned, and then everyone yada yada fucking yada goes to sleep. What she recorded, she's deranged, because what she recorded anyway shows so much cruelty. It's so immature, it's so sadistic, talking to a child like that, saying, come on again and admit it. Say sorry, tell me you didn't mean it, and it will all be all right. Who deals with an 11-year-old child like that? And here she is laying down all these laws and treating this child in this particular way, and expecting her own daughter, Harley, to go and search Gannon's things, but she doesn't take any parenting responsibility, and she's not allowed to make any decisions or do anything, and yet she just treats him like he's dirt. She has, she just shows that she's, I don't know what personality disorders it would be, but I think she's clearly just got a really horrible personality. She's just not a very nice person. She's, I don't care how damaged you are. I don't care what you went through as a child. It's actually statistically the truth that it is not, people who abuse are not overwhelmingly those that were abused, and a lot of people try to do better and not pass on abuse. But yeah, so I guess all I was feeling strongly about is it's just so abundantly clear that she is, I mean, as deranged as they might be, as pathetic as they are, as a sorry excuse for a human being that she is, as a, someone just looking out for themselves. I mean, she's clearly in her own mind. I mean, we wouldn't want to be in her mind. I mean, that's a burden for Leteica to bear. But she's clearly, I don't think, dissociative at all. And I think she's proving it with every conversation she's having. It's funny because I had a friend staying with me for the last just over a week, and introduced her to the case of Laurie Cox and to Leteica STAUCH and all these things, all the things that these subhumans have done. And this is really, my friend is just one of the most beautiful people, filled with light on the inside. She's beautiful inside and out, and she's been through a lot in her life, and revealed that she has been diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. And not that everybody's experience is the same at all. It absolutely is not. And in fact, people can live through periods of dissociation. It doesn't mean you're going to ever receive a diagnosis if you sort it out of a DID. But, this is someone that does have it because of complex PTSD. And just in the same way that I have complex PTSD from extended periods, and I'm talking years, of psychosis. My dog is, one moment. Do you want to come inside? Are you a bit tired of being out here? What's going on? Yeah, she was just so horrified. Hey, come here. She was so horrified about what Laurie Cox could do to her own children, and then, in the name of religion and everything. But I had wanted to interview her on here, actually, about Leteica and just her views on DID, but then, I don't know, I just thought, I really wanted to ask her, but I didn't know that she'd want to do it, but I thought it would be really interesting. It's just, I don't know. I guess we have to just be a bit reserved and wait and see what Dr. Dorothy Lewis has to say, because she has the qualifications to do so. I mean, I can only give an opinion, but I do wonder, what did Dr. Dorothy Lewis, what end did Dorothy Lewis get to get access to in her evaluation? Is it just access to Leteica and Leteica's stories and Leteica's versions, and perhaps medical testing and, so diagnostics with regards to MRIs and that sort of thing? I don't know. How she doesn't have the full picture if she hasn't heard all these interviews and just seen what was going on with Leteica. Leteica's getting more and more frantic, isn't it, as we're working through, isn't she? As we're working through that timeline of events, conversations with police, conversations with our things like that, we can, she is winding up to, she's terrified. She's clearly terrified that what she has done is going to be revealed to Albert, and she's imagining that situation, you know. Yeah, well, I mean, the rape stories are just so wild. But, you know, actually, as, you know, with Jules just saying that sort of describes her ex-husband, you know, she's just drawing on something she knows then, right? Rather than completely make something up. And that is definitely true for everything that Leteica does. It has that little kernel, and the bullshit just wraps around it. But the way that she seems to truly think that if she just keeps fucking talking, she's going to be believable. All her shit about being an educator and all the jobs that she's been offered, about wanting to be the flight attendant, about actually being accepted somewhere. I can't remember much about that, but I have a feeling that that is just so totally fantasy, and there is no basis in truth whatsoever. Who in the right mind is going to offer that woman a place on a plane? The plane would be in trouble. There would be an engine catching fire, and an engine would be catching fire, and so she'd go and hit the pilot over the head, and then she'd go and crash the plane. And then she'd tell a story about how she was trying to be a heroine. And yeah, I mean, so Jules of another Dan Cart just says, it seems like she's the only one capable of kernels of truth. She was messing around with his medications instead of following doctor's instructions. And who is that reminding us of? Okay, another murderous wench by the name of Laurie Cox, perhaps? You know, just such disrespect for any well-being, just not a caregiving bone in their fucking body, right? Just people are always just there to serve. You know, the way she utilizes Harley and triangulates with Harley. You know, Leteica and Laurie, you know, how can they be really much different? Letitia's messing with this poor boy's medication that is really hard on the nervous system. You know, it's like anything. You really need to allow levels to come up and equalize. You can't be throwing people around. It's just like with antidepressants, for example. You need to take them steadily. You can't just come on and off. They really mess with you. And Laurie Cox was really messing with JJ, taking away his support dog, wanting to give that away. Thank goodness that man who trained the dog saw that she was advertising it and took it back. This very valuable dog. But that is just so cruel. Take away that, to take him off his medication so he's acting really erratically, so it's even more difficult for him to have positive communication, positive interactions, so that he's feeling more emotional, more distressed, so that he's acting like a little demon, right? So that she can say, well, he was crawling around in the kitchen cupboards. He's clearly a zombie, you know. Just going to turn my chicken down a little bit there. I'm just sitting at the kitchen bench. Yeah. You know, and all that, just everything's so convoluted, or just so, you know, you wouldn't, the amount of conversation she has about trying to describe the cash. I mean, I was going to make a donation to this guy for fixing the carpet. I mean, what real world, what, you know, yeah, what planet is she on, right? Nothing she says sounds, she's just a bad liar. I think she's clearly, I think I think the ability to lie really well can it doesn't just depend on guts, verve, nerve. It can depend on life experience, on your broad lived experience. So, you know, myself coming up with trying to lie my way out of this, I feel like, well, you know, I'd be much better to make it sound, much better place to make it sound authentic than Leteica. I think, you know, all the way, the way that she lies, I think it just shows the type of person she's always been, the life she's lived, her lack of values, her lack of morals. You know, and I don't give a shit what created that. You know, nobody is perfect. Some people do not suffer terrible things at all in life, and they might not be very good people, and others go through hell, and they are just the most generous, caring, thoughtful souls. There's no way that I am going to, I mean, look, okay, as I said, sorry, starting to ramble, I am going to listen with bated breath to Dr. Lewis, but, you know, from what I'm seeing, there's no way that, number one, that Leteica didn't understand right from wrong, because she's clearly trying to avoid being held accountable for something that is indelibly, unequivocally, indisputably wrong, and she knows it. And I'm also not seeing any behaviours where she's a little bit unsure, maybe trying to fill in some gaps, but where, yeah, she's really unclear about events, and, you know, she doesn't seem to do anything to show that she might have been dissociating and not present for all of these terrible things that she's accused of. And yeah. Oh my word, that's yeah. I don't know. Hello, Mark Klein, MK Ultra, as I like to call you. Nice to see you. You'll be over at Alex Erickson's later, won't you? Because I think they'll be finishing. I think we've just started being able to hear, or at least this is where I'm up to, is where there's kind of a bit more of an interrogation of Leteica, and she's trying to lead them through from start to finish. And so in the conversation, when she's trying to describe about the Sunday, she's already preempting things that she's going to have to tell them on Monday, and things that they're going to discover. Yeah. It's just so bizarre. Things that she should have utmost memory of. She'll say, oh, about 80%, you know, she's positive G went into the house first. Well, 80% positive that we came in through the garage. I wanted to go and let the dogs out. Right, so the dogs are inside the house where this mysterious Aguado, the carpet fixer, and they're not going, they're all right with the stranger in the house, and that's the first thing she's thinking of. She's somehow now forgotten that she's given this Aguado the code. Then, of course, she's going to explain that. She thinks she's so fucking glib. God, does she just make you want to puke? It's just verbal diarrhea I've written down here. You know, she's trying to describe that Aguado. I mean, this is interesting, right? Because this shows a little bit more nous or nuance or something. You know, she's trying to describe Aguado in terms of maybe his smell. Hi, cement shoes. Hello. You know, drywall, alcohol. You know, it's just nuts. saying how, I was just trying to keep Lena safe, but now that I think about it, I should have written Lena a note, to tell what's going on, right? That there's this violent rapist in the house who's, raping her. And, oh my God. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's really hard to have anything to say, really, because, we're all watching the same thing. Most of us know the case quite well, and all we can do is try to process it and just see if anything just pings. Because I've had my friend here, I'm just sort of trying to play catch-ups a lot of the time with what I'm trying to listen to. I don't know. I just think she just explains it all to herself. I thought it was so funny that she was in a pink top at first, because years ago when I made a couple of videos, I made one about homemaker tips, homemaker tips for Leteica STAUCH. How to get candle wax out of the carpet, and then all the different ways that she can wear a shirt in prison, all the different occasions, like being flirty on a date outside, walking around in the yard, maybe sashaying into the mess hall for her, lunch and things like that. And I used a pink pink shirt dress. Let's just try and say that was some sort of prophetic. Anyway, yeah, it's pretty clear. Oh, now Mark's saying, what are you saying? Oh, Mark's in Florida on a golf trip, so you'll miss Alex tomorrow. Yeah, her and Jen Lou. There's lots of people. Kat, Jules, Crime Curious, of course. If you haven't seen our Jennifer Knight on Echidmel, she had a lovely, easy flow conversation with Echidmel on his channel in a live. I think that was a few days ago now, but I heard about it, so I did go and watch it. And it's a really good conversation. I think that really, brought obviously a broader audience to Crime Curious, and to a different level of knowledge about the case, I think. Because even though someone like Echidmel might really get in deep, a lot of people watching channels like that, I think he's got 170-something thousand. He probably exploded through, the Truckee case. But, I think it's so amazing that a bigger audience can be introduced to people like Jennifer Knight, who have been really living and breathing the justice for people like Gannon, and who can really enlighten people as to the truth of cases, and really shut down some gossip maybe, and really get people interested in things like due process, and interested in things like just being more interested in the justice system and the machinations of that's the society we live in, rather than just gossip and letting loose, and just feeling good about dissing on people, or having these sort of flighty ideas that you feel like you can just talk about anything and be sensationalistic, so I think it's really good, and hopefully that's given her a really big boost. I hope it's doubled or tripled her subscribers, and I reckon by the time Leticia's case and Laurie Cox's case is finished, I hope she will have 10,000 or more subscribers. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's really great to bring these grounded, research-based, fact-based views to bigger audiences who, you know, that audience was not, it didn't really care about truth when it came to Kylie Rodney's death and subsequent investigation into her death, disappearance, and then her death. And she, you know, it's sad that an umbrella of you know, all these other situations just weighed down her memory, because with Jared Lysick and everything, you know. So hopefully Ichabod Mel and people like him will start expanding their repertoire out and not looking for people that are going to be sensationalists and bring false information, or say, hey, I saw this photo, or anyway, I'm not describing that very well, but anyway. All right, well, that's 36 minutes and 13 seconds of me not being very interesting, but I just wanted to say Leteica is just a big fat liar. She doesn't fool anyone any percent of the time. She is clearly not a very nice person, or she's clearly someone who, for whatever reason, doesn't have a moral compass and is very self-serving. She's done a very horrible thing. She's thoroughly aware of it, and she is trying to, with every part of her substandard being, avoid responsibility and accountability for it. Yeah. Laurie Cox, on the other hand, that bitch who wants to be excused from the courtroom because, yeah, they're showing exactly what she did to her children. She doesn't want her ugliness to be exposed. She doesn't want to have it held up to her face. She doesn't want that mirror. She just wants to bask in her own self-image. And it's too painful. It's too painful to see. Yeah, I think that the testimony of the police officers who had to go and exhume rock by rock, bone by bone, globs of flesh, teeth, bit of soil by soil, I think she should have that piped into her jail cell 24/7 ad infinitum for at least 23 years, for the 7 years that JJ had on the planet and the 17 years that Tylee had alive on this planet, at least. And same for Chad Daybell. You know, it's so clear, isn't it? It's so clear that they knew exactly what they were doing, that they were trying to be deceptive at every turn. You know, just from memory, even down to, I think, you know, when they, so Laurie, she wasn't so keen to go to Rexburg, but she did, and takes an apartment in a complex that has a lot of apartments. She got her niece, Melanie Pulowski Boudreau, to move. Well, she was Melanie Boudreau, and then, of course, was put together probably by Chad within, or, you know, the matchmaker, Moroni, and Alex Cox. They move in, but I think that she had her name on the lease of the unit that Alex was in. I think how did she do it? I don't know. There's something about the name, even down to having the different names on the leases of where her and Alex were living, so that it wouldn't have been just so easy to track which apartment she was actually supposed to be in. I'm not explaining that very well. But, you know, the conniving, it's plotting, it's planning, it's deceptive, it's in full knowledge, it's, you know, it's guilty knowledge, it's the whole kit and caboodle. And, yeah, I hope they're going to burn in hell. Anyway, I really don't have anything to say. I just wanted to check in with you guys. I'd love to know what you all think about anything, if you've had any brainwaves about it, or, you eureka moments with anything, because I've probably missed quite a lot of all these finer facts, but you know, yeah, it's so harrowing. It's heavy shit, isn't it? It's so heavy. But I feel like in a way we can honor Gannon, and we can honor Tylee and JJ, Tammy, Charles. We can honor them by going through this, seeing this through to the end. We've followed everything that's happened. We've tried to discover some things for ourselves. At the end of Laurie Cox's trial, well, I might not even reveal then, but I might reveal something that I did. But they're just so intense they're such intense cases, Mark. But you know, we've followed all the twists and turns for so long, had so many feelings about it, and now it just seems wrong just to now abandon in their hour of really being seen and heard the victims. And yeah, yeah, it's very heavy, but I'm going to try and see it out as much as possible and just listen to as much as possible. You know, hearing about Tylee and JJ, I mean, we all knew some details, a lot of details, but yeah, just hearing it recounted, I mean, because we heard a lot of that in the, what is the name for the pre-trial again? Is it just called the pre-trial? It starts with P. What, my brain's gone. But, you know, we heard a lot then, but, you know, even so, just to listen, just to try and somehow put into the collective consciousness that support and that just trying to lift up, you know, take some burden off the people that are having to speak out what they've lived through. I mean, I feel like that's something that we can do just by being there and seeing it through, listening, just hearing, just listening, hearing, understanding. Because we weren't there at the time, we weren't there to save or experience with or hold hands with, but we can be there now, and we can be there now, and you know, I do think it's meaningful. I do think it's meaningful. So that's, you know, that's my plan for however many weeks it takes. There will be times, I know that there will be times coming up when, yeah, I will be really fired up and I will have something to say about a specific thing here and there, and that's when I will, yeah, probably just make short videos, or I will just jump on here. But so far it's just been just trying to reprocess everything that, you know, we've kind of had to feel already. Hi, JK. It's just so crazy. I know you'll be over at Alex Erickson's later when we go and listen to the remainder of Leteica being kind of interrogated by law enforcement. I mean, just the things that we're finding out that we didn't know, you know, that, you know, ringing up law enforcement, like FaceTiming the lady and going, what's going on? What's the deal? Why are you harassing me? You know, what do you want from me? It's like, stop being such an egocentric bitch. We're just trying to find your missing stepson. Yeah. How it's not clear. I mean, maybe she was frightened the whole time, knowing that they suspected her the whole time, but how she's so ballsy, I don't know. I just, you know, maybe she's just stupid enough. Maybe that's what it is, you know. I don't know. Crafty, cunning, all of that is completely different to having, you know, some sorts of intelligence and yeah. Anywho, thanks for tuning in, guys. 45 minutes, it's long enough for me not saying anything. Just wanted to say that, yeah, it's clear that Leteica STAUCH is just a filthy, rotten liar, that she's not displaying, in my layperson's knowledge, but also in the knowledge that I do have of experiencing these things at times, and in all the literature that I have read, even though I understand that people have different experiences, I don't think she's displaying dissociative identity disorder traits at all. I just think she's just a gross person. I'm going to say goodbye. I'm going to eat my chicken that I've just cooked, and try and have an afternoon nap so that I can listen in later, and as everything's live. So there's lots of good channels to go and watch. You've got the Ward case studies with Jen Liu. You've got Jules Another Day in the Car. You've got Jennifer Knight's Crime Curious channel, which is also a channel matching her website, crimecurious.com. You've got Kit, or Kit, don't ask me the numbers, 9768 or something like that. If you can't find her, I don't know. There's so many people. Alex Erickson, Law and Crime Network, of course, are giving really good coverage, and we could not forget to name with such an honourable mention the professional, amazing, warm Nate Eaton of East Idaho News. You know, it's not just that this has been a really career-making case for him, and I'm talking about Laurie and Chad now, but that he just has real heart and soul about it. He doesn't sensationalize. He's a true journalist in the real meaning of the word when it comes to living and breathing the code of ethics, and responsible journalism, whilst also being very, I mean, you know, just so willing to put himself into what is probably a big zone. Remember when he jumped in a helicopter to fly over Chad Daybell's property? And look, you know, he probably couldn't get a camera. I think he was filming it himself, and the filming was just awful, but he acted, he got up there and he wanted to just go and document what was happening, and he gave it a red hot go, you know. Yeah, he's a really wonderful human being. So yeah, East Idaho News as well. I've probably forgotten a lot of people, but there you go, done my best. All right, yeah, love you guys, and I will see you again soon.